Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make one of these. It's just a simple decorative arrow. We're going to be using a stone point on this one, so while you could shoot it and every other part of this arrow is completely shootable, I would suggest not shooting these points because if you shoot these into a target, you're probably going to break them. So, that said, you're going to need a few things. First, we're going to start off with a wooden dowel. This is a ramen dowel rod that I picked up at the local hardware store. I cut it down to 24 inches. So what you want to do is you just want to look for a straight dowel rod and make sure that there are no knots and make sure that the grain is running straight along the length of the dowel. So you can use whatever species you want, just make sure that the grain is straight. Alright. So I'm also going to be using this point here. This is one of the agate points I got off of Amazon. It's a really small one, but it'll work really well for this arrow. And we're going to be using, you could use artificial sinew, but I like using polypropylene. This is just a cheaper polypropylene you can get. What I like about it is, like artificial sinew, you can pull it apart. Just add a little bit of beeswax and it works just like artificial sinew. You're going to need some beeswax. I'm going to be using two 5-inch helical cut feathers, and then, not helical cut, parabolic cut feathers, and we're just going to be trimming them down. And then you're going to need brown and black shoe polish. Alright, let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our dowel here and we're going to figure out where we're going to put our knock and our point. So you're going to actually have to look at the dowel here and figure out which way the grain is running. So it's running this way, which means that the top. Okay, so if you can see, the grain is running in layers going this way. So we want our knock to actually intersect that right down the middle. So this is where we're going to cut our knock. So now what you need to do is you need to go to the other side of the arrow and basically line it up, and you want to mark a line for our point along that same line. So now what we're going to do is the point we're going to cut down to a little more than 1/4 of an inch. Basically, I want to cut down just to where the point comes that far in. And then for the knock here, we want to go down about 1/4 of an inch because we're going to be making a shorter, shallower knock for a pinch style release. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to first want to cut it with a hacksaw straight in on both sides, and then you're going to want to use a 1/8 of an inch rat tail file to open it up. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Alright, so here's what the front notch looks like. If you can see, what I did was I matched the contour of the point, but centered there isn't much space, just a little gap. And so we're actually going to fill that up with epoxy. That's another thing I forgot to mention, you need epoxy. So we're going to fill that up. If you can see, this is where the point's going to sit. And then on the other side, what I did here is the notch, or the knock, is more of a shallow, it's not going to lock onto the string. you're actually going, if you use this arrow, you're actually going to hold it onto the string with your thumb and forefinger, which is why this arrow is so short. It's to accommodate a shorter primary release. So what you want to do here is about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of the knock. You want to cut a little V groove going on both sides, going all the way around the shaft here. And then what you want to do is you want to sand down the whole shaft. Once you've done that, you take your shoe polish, and you go and you apply it, get it into the knock. Now, if you wanted to put a more durable finish on this arrow, I would suggest using wood dye, as the shoe polish has waxes in it that will resist a lot of commercial finishes. These are going to be finished with beeswax, so that's not a big deal. Actually, the waxes will help. So after that coat, just want to make sure you get dye into the notch here. And then you just want to go back and give a second coat. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball about 6 inches from the point end here. We're going to take the black and we're going to kind of simulate as if the front portion of this shaft were burned. So we're going to take the black and just kind of go, you can kind of make the upper portion here vary a little bit. It doesn't have to be a straight line because we're going to actually blend this. So once that's on, what you want to do is you want to take a paper towel or a rag and you want to wipe the dye off. And then you want to go with the brown and just reapply in this area. And then wipe that off. So, you might not be able to see it very well with the camera, but there's a very subtle darkening up here. Very, very light. So, now that that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to glue our point in and then we're going to start wrapping.